What's up guys, Mickle here, and in this video, we're going to be talking about the next black swan. There have been a lot of people in the XRP community who have been saying for a while now that in order for XRP and the rest of the cryptocurrency market to take off, we need to see a black swan scenario to usher in a great reset. In this video, I want to give you my opinions on this, whether or not I think that is something that's going to happen, as well as go through the black swan scenarios that are always put out there. I want to talk about what I think of these theories, whether or not I think they're probable, but at the end of the video, actually get into one of the black swan scenarios that I think is very realistic and could be right around the corner. Like always, your support means so much to this channel. I want to say thank you to everyone who likes the videos and is subscribed to the channel. It really helps me out so much. Also, if you ever need a good place to buy some XRP, make sure to check out my favorite exchange, Uphold, down in the description of this video. With that said though, let's jump right into it, and I hope you guys enjoy the content. I want to jump into the video and talk about the first black swan scenario that I am constantly hearing about, and that is the collapse of Tether. This is something that is constantly being put out there, and people say that Tether will essentially bring down the entire cryptocurrency market, and then only the best cryptocurrency projects will rise from the ashes. So do I think this is something that's going to happen? Absolutely not. All the proof I have seen thus far shows that Tether is actually one of the most best positioned crypto projects out there. Tether last quarter made more money than Goldman Sachs. With only 200 employees, Tether made $2.6 billion in profit. That is absolutely insane. And it's important to understand Tether's business model is not complex at all. They take money given to them by depositors, put it in US treasuries, and then make a yield on those treasuries. They don't need a lot of people to maintain this business model. It is dead simple, and they are making profits hand over fist. Tether is absolutely raking in revenue right now, more than a lot of the biggest financial firms in the United States. Tether 100% at this point has their token backed, in my opinion. You cannot make this much money and have holes in your balance sheet. It's almost impossible. Was Tether running a sketchy operation at one point? Yes, that is very likely in my opinion, but I think Tether has been forced to clean up their act. Something very interesting we heard just the other week from one of Tether's asset managers is that he has seen Tether's money and can confirm it is there and is invested in US treasuries.
And there's a company that I like called Tether. It's a stable coin. And you know, I manage many of their assets. And Tether Holdings is the name of the group. And the group, I want to say it here with you, from what we've seen, and we did a lot of work, they have the money they say they had. In the last attestation, they said they had 86 billion of assets and 83 billion of liabilities. And I've seen a whole lot, and the firm has seen a whole lot, and they have the money. And so there's always been a lot of talk. Do they have it or not? So I'm with you guys saying we've seen it and they have it.
This is so important to understand because one of the other big narratives that has been around is that all of Tether's money is invested in Evergrande, and Evergrande just went bankrupt. Let me tell you right now, if all of Tether's money was actually in Evergrande, we would have already seen Tether depeg. Markets are very efficient. They get way ahead of these things, and Evergrande's been going bankrupt now for over 5 months. The market would have already priced this in. The fact of the matter is, Tether somehow through the years has fixed all their sketchy problems and now very likely, in my opinion, has the money they say they do. I think Tether really is a Binance situation. After FTX went under, everyone was saying Binance was the next shoe to fall. Binance was going to be the next exchange to go belly up. And what did we learn? Binance did some sketchy stuff in the past, but they were making so much money. They cleaned up their act. And now, for the most part, they have all their customers' money and there was no black swan. I think the same exact thing is happening at Tether, and based on all the evidence we are seeing, not only from Tether, but the companies specifically working with Tether and helping manage their assets, to me, it is so obvious Tether has the money and is not going to create the next black swan. So if Tether's not going to create the next black swan, what's another thing that is constantly being talked about? In my opinion, it's a depression or a recession. And normally this comes from people saying the Federal Reserve has raised interest rates at such a fast rate that it's going to cause a depression or a recession because it's essentially going to squeeze all the money out of the system. Let me tell you right now, the stats we are getting in real time say that this is not happening. Right now, we see that Amazon just today released profits that were record breaking. We saw Meta release profits that are record breaking. We saw Apple release profits that were record breaking. We are watching companies time after time report excellent earnings. What is happening right now is a phenomenon we have never seen before. Despite the fact that the Fed raised rate at record high paces, companies are still beating on earnings, they're still beating on profits. This is so important to understand because based on what we're seeing at the top of the most powerful companies in the entire world, they are still generating profits and consumers are still spending. I think this really goes against the narrative that we are right around the corner from some depression or some recession. I think this really goes against the narrative that we are right around the corner from some imminent collapse from the consumer. To me, this is absolutely critical for the cryptocurrency market in 2024 because big money managers are not going to seek out risk when we are in a high interest rate environment and companies are going belly up. In these types of periods, these recessions and depressions, big asset managers move to safe assets that is not cryptocurrencies. So it is such a good sign that what we're seeing right now is one, the Federal Reserve stop hiking rates, two, companies are still beating on earnings, and inflation has now gone below the Fed's target, making me believe we are likely in a scenario very soon where the Federal Reserve can bring rates back down. What I'm trying to show you is that we actually dodged one of the biggest question marks in the US economy, which was, are US companies going to be able to handle high interest rates? For the most part, what we are seeing is these companies absolutely handle the high interest rates with no problem at all, and they are beating right now in real time, like I said just today, at record paces. So with all that said, you're probably wondering, what could be the black swan scenario that I talked about earlier in this video? What is the thing I'm watching right now that actually makes me concerned? And for me, it's the regional banks in the United States. If there is one extreme weak point in the United States right now that could cause a black swan, it is the banking system. The banking system is in massive trouble. Regional banks are taking unprecedented losses every single day, and that is a sector of the economy that is extremely, extremely weak. Now, I don't believe this is going to be a black swan scenario that expands into all the different sectors of our economy. I think cybersecurity companies are still going to do great. I think companies like Apple and Amazon are still going to do great. But I see huge problems brewing in the regional banks. In my opinion, this just plays even better into cryptocurrencies. What we're watching is regional banks have outdated business models, and it's really flowing into all the banks in general. These banks for a long time had moats, they had monopolies, and no one could disrupt them. But now they're being disrupted by tech because tech is exponentially more efficient. These banks are going to have to adopt technologies that make them better. They're going to have to adopt technologies that help them save money because right now their business models are at serious risk of being disrupted. Banks are getting desperate, banks are getting out innovated, and they absolutely need to make changes if they want to survive into the future. What we know is cryptocurrencies make the banking system exponentially more efficient. And if the banks don't get in line and start adopting this technology, they are going to get disrupted and left in the dust. In my eyes, the biggest weak spot in the US economy, the biggest chance for a black swan is around the regional banking system. But the good news is I don't think this is going to bring down the entire economy. I don't think this is going to create a scenario in which cryptocurrencies are going to lose massive amounts of market share. In fact, I think it just plays into the bull case for cryptocurrencies. We have been told time and time again, crypto is too risky. You can't touch crypto. DeFi is so risky. You got to stay away from DeFi. We don't want to hold these volatile assets. Meanwhile, just the other day, we saw New York Community Bank down 50%. What we are learning is the new emerging technology of cryptocurrencies is not as risky as the elites want you to think. The real risky part of our financial system is the traditional banks. They are over-regulated, they are overweight, they're slow-moving, and they are getting left in the dust. That's why right now in this period of high interest rates, we are watching tech perform, we are watching new age companies like Tether, we are watching new age companies like Apple, Amazon, Google, Ripple, all of these cryptocurrency and tech-related industries absolutely boom, and what is being left in the dust is the legacy businesses that are overregulated, outdated, and resistant to change. This is where I see the black swan. I do not see the black swan in Tether. I do not see the black swan in your traditional technology firms. These companies are performing at record paces. Where I see the black swan, if there is going to be one, is the regional banks. Now, I want to finish this video off and just quickly say, I personally don't think the regional banks will cause the black swan. I think the Federal Reserve will end up cutting rates before things can get bad. I don't think the Federal Reserve is going to let this system fall apart. But if I was to look at one area in the economy right now where I had to say, hey, this is where the black swan's going to be, I would not be pointing to Tether. I would not be pointing to a recession or a depression. I would be pointing to weakness in the banking sector. Let's see how it plays out. Ultimately, what I'm so excited for is just the fact that, to me, all of this simply proves that cryptocurrencies are fundamentally critical to our next generation financial system, and I don't see anything in the near future that's going to affect the bull case. Thank you so much for coming, guys. I hope you enjoyed this update. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe. It really does help out so much, and for now, Mickle out.